Hi, and welcome to another episode of In the Spotlight, where we shine a light on entrepreneurs, SMEs, and innovators. I'm Maxine Crow, your host, and I'm absolutely delighted to be joined this evening by Sarah Stones. Now, Sarah and we actually met, we worked out a few months ago at a speaker conference, and I was just absolutely inspired by Sarah's story and the amazing work she's doing. So that's really what I'd love to share with you today, the audience. So, Sarah, welcome.
Thank you, Maxine. I've been so looking forward to talking to you.
Thank you. So I'm going to ask you a few questions. So we're going to start with tell us a little bit about yourself and your background.
So, I run plain sailing motivation, and I'm a motivation specialist, a speaker, and a coach. And I've been running plain sailing for 8 years now. And prior to that, had a career in HR and had really sort of spent a few years going, am I in the right job? Why aren't I enjoying it? And suddenly realised that actually motivation was so key to everything that I was doing, and that I will go into a job and really enjoy it. And then what I've now realised is actually I get bored. But so I've really been on a journey over the last 8 years, developing my knowledge and expertise in motivation.
Oh, that's absolutely amazing. And when you was telling me a couple of your case studies and just talk about your services and talk about who you work with and for the audience who your ideal clients are.
So I love doing career coaching, particularly for people that are either stuck in a career that they don't enjoy, um, and but really can't see a way out of it and are changing
Hmm.
careers. I've been working recently with quite a few new graduates, and I also enjoy working with people who are really struggling with self confidence and low self esteem.
Mm.
I think since I met you, Maxine, or earlier this year, I've become a master practitioner in NLP. So
Mm.
it's given me an awful lot more skills in my coaching toolkit. And I also speak at conferences and events on motivation, but I always say very adamantly, I'm not a motivational speaker. I speak about motivation because motivation is intrinsic. We need to know what we need so that we can give ourselves or give our team, when we're managing a team, we can make sure that our team receive the right uh, input so that we can help them with their motivation.
Yeah.
Um, and then I do a lot of staff training on well-being and engagement all around motivation as well.
That's amazing. So do you go into organizations or do you is it how yeah, talk a little bit about your approach, and if we want to use your services, how would the audience do that?
Yeah, so I always start with the question of why. I think that's so important. What are we looking to achieve? So,
Mm,
whilst I do say I offer training, and I also use a tool called the motivational map, which is personality tests. I always I think of ourselves and as people like jigsaw puzzles,
yeah.
and we've all got our outside edges. And the more we learn about ourselves, the more pieces we can put into our own jigsaws. And I think a lot of people do personality profiles which fill in those pieces, but actually it's not our personality that gets us out of bed in the morning, it's our
Mm,
motivation. And so I use a profiling tool which is incredibly accurate. And I'll use that as part of the development of a training program. If I'm going in and delivering training, I'll do motivational map profiles before I go in,
mhm,
and then I can deliver the training knowing what motivates that team that's in front of me, so I can deliver the training in a way that really resonates and really connects with them.
that's absolutely fascinating. And do you find what are some of the challenges that you come across when you're doing your training and motivational training?
Oh, that's a great question. I think it's about it because part of what, so I can deliver the training with or without the profiles,
Mm,
but I know that using the profiles gives organisations so much more insight and so many more benefits because they can see, they can actually measure the well-being of their staff and their level of engagement through these profile reports as well. And
mm,
so I think another of the challenges when I'm doing coaching sessions with people who have I've not met before, and I'm often working online, or not always. Um, but if someone's got a very low level of mental health, it'll show up in the low levels of motivation,
mm,
and we can end up having conversations that with people who maybe haven't even spoken to their work about how they're feeling.
mm,
And I think for me, one of the challenges is I really want to then go in and be able to support that person and work with the organisation. And sometimes I am able to do that, but sometimes it's just not on the organisation's agenda.
mm. I know that mental health and well-being, especially with COVID happening and the lockdown, that I feel, I mean, you can advise, but do you feel that there's been more of a drive in organizations to focus on mental health and well-being?
I do. I think that's really helped, and I think there's enough. And we've seen by the differences. There's lots of figures available out there of the difference that it made between organisations that were regularly in touch with their staff during the lockdowns and the ones that weren't. And it made a huge difference.
Mm,
And I think we're also seeing that um, in very different ways. So I was working with a new graduate who was struggling to find work, and he come to me for help with his CV and
mm,
LinkedIn profile. And then we were talking, and actually, it wasn't about that at all. When we dug down, and actually, he'd been in a situation where, when lockdown came, he'd been in a flat on his own, and he was still struggling with the after effects of that, and yet nobody had been aware of that.
mm. Well, I think, do you find that when you're doing your coaching and delivering and your training, what would you say is a typical length of time that what you're doing to see results? Because embedding any kind of skill takes time, and adjusting to a new practice or a way of working, or when you're working on yourself, even takes time. So what are you finding typically when you're training and coaching?
What I love is because the model of motivation I use is so simple and it makes so much sense, is that even if I've spent an hour and a quarter in a feedback coaching session with the line manager, they've got takeaways that they can implement straight away,
Mm,
which is it just makes such a difference. And I think a lot of the time we have training sessions and we leave them and we think, oh, well, that was useful. But actually, it's having those takeaways that we can use. So we can go away and use them with our children. Our
mm,
children have all of these motivators as well, or our loved ones, our partners will go home, and I think the insight that we get, um, we can just see other people in from a different perspective that actually makes us more empathetic as
mm,
well.
mm. I love that. Um, you talked about one of your graduates, but can you share another success story with us as part of that's resulted as
Yeah.
part of your training? I'd love to hear something from you.
I mean, you know from our talks that I'm passionate about supporting young people, and I think you've met Alex Hughes and Sam Squire of
Yes.
Inspire to Ignite. And they're doing amazing things with young people not in education or employment. And I was working with a young lady recently who had really, really struggled with school. Um, Dyslexia was picked up at a very late stage, and having the session with her, I think that she realised that it wasn't her that was broken. It wasn't her fault that school had been so difficult for her.
Mm,
It was the way that she, I think school is great for people that like routine, like order, like knowing what's happening when it's happening.
mm,
But for a lot of our young people, they're creative, they need more freedom. And the school's solution to her finding maths and English difficult was to give her double maths and
mm,
English. And so she wasn't able to go into any of the classes that she'd have really excelled at and
mm,
done well in school because she was doing all of this extra maths and English. And it's the same. We do the same in organisations. If someone can't do something, we'll put them on a training course, or we'll give them a hard time because they can't do something. Whereas what we need to be doing is looking out for people's strengths, looking out for what makes people shine like you're doing, and then actually saying, okay, you are amazing. Let's see how we can use all of these amazing talents that
mm,
you've got.
mm. And that's a lovely story, Sarah. And I was fortunate enough to meet Sam and Alex when they launched the Milton Keynes branch of Inspire to Ignite, and just that opportunity to listen to some of the young entrepreneurs that they're creating and supporting, and it made me realize actually that when there's a young person, traditionally it was okay, you leave school, you get a job, you earn a living, and you buy a house, and it's very, very traditional. Whereas they're teaching that, if, like you say, where you need to harness their creativity and what they're passionate about, and it might not actually be just going and getting a job, it might actually be becoming an entrepreneur and starting a business. So the work that you're doing with youngsters is absolutely incredible and really invaluable.
And I think historically we've always looked at, okay, what skills have you got? And what are you good at school? And then find a job that sort of you can do that. Well, actually, what we're good at doesn't always motivate us. I
Mm,
always use the example of spreadsheets. I'm actually quite good at using spreadsheets. Would I want to be doing that all day, every day?
no.
No, not at all.
I just glaze over with all the numbers, and it's
Yeah,
like
exactly.
a necessary evil for sure.
And actually, that's where Claire, the lovely Claire who works with me doing all my admin, Claire has her motivators mean that she loves organisation. She's
Mm,
spot on with everything to do with invoicing, to do with setting up meetings, booking things like that bore me. And I knew that they motivated Claire when I recruited her.
yeah.
So it's about looking at, okay, not only what skills and what experience you need when you're recruiting someone to a new
Mm.
role, but actually, what do you need them to be motivated by? And then let's use the language of those motivators in the job advert and in the job description, and let's ask questions around that so that we're recruiting someone that will really enjoy being part of your team.
Yeah, that's some really good advice, Sarah. Um, I'm going to ask you, what's the best piece of advice that you've received as an entrepreneur?
Oh, great question. I think it's about focusing on one thing. I think I held my own business back because when you think about it, motivation just everybody's lives would be enhanced if we knew more about motivation. So I
Hmm.
was trying to do everything, and now I know that actually what who my audience is, and I know that actually speaking at events, doing coaching for career coaching, and coaching for people with acquired or lifelong disabilities, and then providing training. Now I know that that is my sweet spot. It's
Hmm.
much easier.
Hmm. Thank you for that. And what advice would you give to budding entrepreneurs and innovators?
Go for it. Just go for it. And the one thing that I would say that I wish I'd known a lot earlier than I realised was get a good contact management system
Mm,
so that you're keeping track and not losing the people that you've spoken to along the way.
mm, that's some really good advice. Sarah, I'm intrigued. How do you maintain a work-life balance?
Yeah, I think that is one of the real challenges I've got because I'm so passionate about what I'm doing. And it's really difficult, but I think it's about understanding how our brain works and knowing that we need to do creative stuff. We need to switch off. And if we get the balance right, then we know that when we relax, we'll think faster and we'll be more creative with our business thinking and we'll achieve more. So
Mm,
I think knowing that it's going to benefit my business if I do have more downtime is really important to me.
mm. That's some really good words of wisdom there from you, Sarah. Um, so tell us, tell us about. Is there a book or a podcast or a resource that's been particularly influential for you?
I I bought a new bookcase 2 years ago and I decided that when it got full up, I had to stop buying books. Well, I've now got a big pile of books next to the bookcase that won't fit on the bookcase. Um, I love the Elizabeth Day, How to Fail. That's a podcast.
Mm,
That's one of my really favourite ones. But
mm.
there are so many. I think what I will do when you put this is I'll add a few in the comments, Maxine.
Oh, that would
And
be really.
the book that I recommend most to clients is The Pursuit of Perfect. And that's all about. And I think I need to reread it actually because it's all about um, we need we need to just know that actually we're doing a really good job. We don't need to be perfect.
Mm. Do you know that that's such an important point, and that actually came out on with a previous guest where he was saying about perfection, and if something's not, just making, we can't be perfect, or if something's not perfect, still put it out there. That's a really
Yeah.
good. uh, yeah, share that with us so that we can let the audience um, have a read of that one. And
Um,
do you have any messages or lessons and takeaways for the audience?
I think it's about really and really think about what fuel you need to keep you engaged and motivated. If we take our car to the garage, but we don't put any fuel in it, we won't get anywhere. But the same, if we take our car to the garage and we put the wrong fuel in it, we can do a lot of damage.
Mm,
But if we've gone and we've filled up with the right fuel, oh my goodness, we can go for miles. And we are just the same as cars. That's what motivation is. It's energy. And we need to really focus on what sort of energy we need.
I
It's,
abs-
it's crucial.
mm, I absolutely love that analogy that you've used, because everyone can relate to cars, and even the maintenance of a car, our bodies, we need the right things. We need to. I love it, and I'm not going to elaborate on that because it's just such a special message. Sarah, how can the audience contact you if they want to reach out for your services, just to get to know you a little bit better? Or how can people reach you?
So LinkedIn is my go-to platform
Hmm.
on social media. And my email address is sarah@plainsailingmotivation.co.uk. And you can also find me hanging about on Twitter at sometimes, or X as it's
X.
now known.
Yeah. Yes, I know. It's hard to keep track sometimes of all these new technologies.
Exactly. On my website, it's about to be relaunched, but it's plainsailingmotivation.co.uk.
Oh, that's amazing. Sarah, I know that when we talked about you coming in the spotlight, and it was kind of, oh my gosh, but you know what? It's been an absolute delight to catch up with you. I feel that I've just met up again with an old friend, and I know that it was only a few months ago that we met, and I'm sure we will be see each other again soon. Do you run any webinars, or do you run any events?
I do, yeah. I haven't got any in the diary at the moment, but I'm always really happy to run open webinars and training events.
Oh, thank you so much. Let's watch that space and put some things in your diary for 24. It'd be really lovely
And
to do something with you.
that would be amazing.
Thank you so much, Sarah. This has been another episode of In the Spotlight with Sarah Stones from Plain Sailing Motivation. Until next time, enjoy your evening. Thank you. Thanks, Sarah.
Thanks, Max. Bye, everyone.